Hey everybody, this is Stan Wanglund, and it is the 30th of January, 2022, and thank you for joining me on Just Thinking 2022. This is episode number 8 in our reinstituting Just Thinking, working from the ground floor up, and boy are we ever on things. But I appreciate you guys listening. To the show. And I think I have an interesting short show today. And it was just an insight. I enjoy doing these videos. They are raw, they are unedited for the most part. I try to keep them simple and informative and fun. And, I'm going to do a political one. I actually stopped doing the Just Thinking show due to the divisiveness in our country and just the vehement kinds of behavior that people get involved with politics and religion and abortion and racial things and everything else. And as I'm doing this, redoing the show now after a layoff of about a year and a half, it can be done very calmly and respectfully and everything else like that. And if I do anything political, I'm not going to. I'm not interested in demonizing anybody or coming up with horrible things, but maybe interpreting things or saying, hey, I've got a different spin on things, or, what the heck's coming about. When I look back on my old shows from Just Thinking, man, you want to talk about calling the shots on things. Boy, you don't have to be a Svengali or a Nostradamus to make some of the predictions for American politics or behavior, the way that people are acting in the world right now. But some of the stuff was shockingly right on, and I feel good about that. That of course I have my biases, but that I can try to be a critical thinker. When I look at certain situations, I kind of try to look at them like if I was a military analyst, if I was like in United States intelligence or something, where you can't let your feelings or any of that kind of stuff get in the way. You have to you have to look at things and say, what could this be? Not sometimes what is it for sure, but could this be a possible scenario? Now, today, I guess I want to call this show, I actually feel sorry for President Trump. And I'll tell you why I'm saying this. It's a weird thing. I got a weird feeling as I was watching the news. And I don't watch a lot of news anymore. I watch a little bit on COVID. I keep up to date on politics and stuff, and I'm looking at the Supreme Court stuff that's coming up, and there's going to be some backlash when somebody says, hey, I've got to have a female, and the female has to be a certain race, or it has to be a male, it has to be that's going to immediately go in a direction, and there's going to just that our temper. The way that we are, and people may have a point to that. They figure, hey, let the best person get the job, and then there's another point on the other hand that you want the Supreme Court to look like America, with kind of a balanced viewpoint of people, and so on and so forth. And there's good points on both sides. Just like critical race theory, it's important to tell the truth, and then on the other hand, it's also important not to start, bending and thwarting and manipulating information in 2022 to make one group of people look like they're evil monsters, and nothing ever went on in the world except through one group of people doing bad things or whatever, and that kind of stuff. But this thing with Trump, getting back on the point here as to what's going on. I know that Trump had his, one of his rallies there the other day. And by the way, I'm not a Trump supporter. I mean, if you know anything about me, I don't support Trump. Although many, many years ago, I can remember when I didn't care for Jimmy Carter and I didn't care for stuff in politics. As a younger man and not being as astute as I might be now, I was of the silly ass opinion that maybe a person like Ross Perot, a billionaire, or somebody even like a Donald Trump might be a good idea to have as a president, to run the country kind of like a business. And when I look on that now, that's a bad thing, in my opinion. But that would be for another show. It's just an opinion. There's people who think that's a good thing and other people don't think that's a good thing. But like I said, this show, and I'll be pretty brief with it and get to the point, As I'm watching stuff, I know that Trump is doing is a very clever Republican meme here. A meme meaning something like a word virus that gets in your head. Save America, build back better for Biden. All these kind of things. Make America great again. These buzzwords get stuck in your head, and they're very powerful. And I was saying to myself the other day, hey, if I was a Republican strategist, yeah, you see with all the stuff with COVID, you see all the stuff with Putin, everything else. All the different crises that President Biden has to face. He didn't create these things. Just like President Trump didn't create some of them. And I think he's trying to do a good job. He's trying to please everybody. Maybe that's the problem, or that people just have to be patient. And he doesn't have a country that wants to work together. They want to sabotage each other. And I think it was the same with President Trump. People tried to sabotage him on occasion, and then he did a good job on it himself. But all that aside, that's past history. You know, Forgiveness is important to a point. You have to move on and work together as a country. But as I'm looking, President Trump trying to make his comeback, to continue to exert his influence, and he has this. He doesn't worry about the politicians that are currently in power or the ones who have to get in power. He always panders to the base, his base. That's all he wants is I've never seen a guy, all he's doing is rallies. I mean, he just thrives on this rally stuff. And, you think the guy's an idiot with this. And today, as I was watching, there's like a subtle shift in some politicians in the Republican Party. I mean, that Mitch McConnell, the minority leader in the Senate, he'll go along a little bit with Trump and be, with whatever, but he makes it no uncertain terms. He pretty much thinks Trump's a bum, but he doesn't rule him out if he got the nomination. He's being a real cute politician there. I mean, and that's how he survives and was the Senate Majority Leader. I mean, he's like Cardinal Richelieu and the French government during prior to the Revolution. My goodness gracious, talk about a draconian kind of a guy, but he knows his beans when it comes to politics, as do all these characters in some ways. The big powerful ones. But I looked at Susan Collins, and if you don't know, the senator, female senator, and she has the shaky voice, and she'll always look like she's going to be reasonable with the Democrats. Is she going to vote to impeach Trump? I think he did something, and then she bails out and goes Republican at the last minute so that she can be elected or whatever. I wouldn't trust her as far as I could throw her or whatever, but she hasn't ruled. She's not a big Trump supporter, to be sure, but she hasn't thrown him under the bus completely either. She was on there today, and they were, she was being questioned on, I think it was Meet the Press or whatever. And, when it came up about the Supreme Court nomination, here it was, they were asking her, what about President Trump and the Save America thing? Are you going to support him if he gets the presidential nominee? And she had a very interesting comment. You'd have to look it up yourself. What she was essentially saying is, I can't answer that now, but there's a lot of other really good Republican candidates out there, and we have to remain to see what's out there. And see my eyes going like this on the camera? I'm saying, wow, she's an old timer. What is she doing? You got Mitch McConnell. He's the top dog man in the sled there. She's an old pro. These are all older people. They got a lot to lose if they get bounced out, and they're not getting bounced out right now. But I think they want their party back. But this Trump and his mob, the base, it's how Caesar kept Rome. That's why they assassinated him. Remember he said, "Et tu, Brute?" Brutus, you too. They bumped him off because Caesar controlled Rome not by the consent of the senators and the other people. He controlled Rome by the mob, by the populace, by the base. And Trump, nut job that he is, in my opinion, I don't care for Trump at all. This is not his job, in my opinion. All along, with all his erratic behaviors, you forget that he'll turn on Republicans almost as quick as or more so, than he will on Democrats. He turns on everybody except the mob. He loves his friggin' base, man. And they love him. and they'll give up other things to listen to his stuff because he loves them and they love him. These other politicians, they don't love the mob. They use the mob. They manipulate the mob. I'm not saying Trump is any better. He manipulates them too, but he has a whole different game he's playing, man. But I'm saying, put this together now. Gia Collins is putting this out. She's not putting him down, but she's not embracing him either. Then Lindsey Graham, his buddy who called Trump a certifiable nut job all the time, and after the January 6th inspiration had that famous thing. Check it out. It says, "Oh, brother, I was with you all the way, and blah 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 blah. You gone too far." Kevin McCarthy, you gone too far. You know, but they all backed off after he was on the news, and people wanted to kill him. The base wanted to kill him at the airport. To kind of hang him like they did with Mike Pence. Lindsey Graham, man, he's another old timer. This guy's a slick character. He's on Meet the Press today, Face the Nation today, if you watch those shows, and he's talking about his bipartisan committee, that he's on, for sanctions against the Russians, and you better watch out, Putin. Biden's right on this one, and we're blah 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 blah, and we're going to work together. And then he was singing the praises of Biden's Supreme Court, one of the nominations, which is Justice Childs from South Carolina. Now, is he doing that because she's from Carolina? No, he's saying because she's super qualified and everything else. Now, Lindsey Graham can be very endearing when he becomes, reasonable and patriotic and everything else like that. I mean, he knows how to play the game. And here he is. He's looking reasonable and everything else, and then, he talks, those insurrectionists too. He doesn't agree with Trump. He says, no, everybody, whether it's he always puts Black Lives Matter, the looters, or those insurrectionists, they have to pay the thing. So this guy's like the voice of reason for this whole thing. And I'm saying, And then at the ends it up, and he's being asked about, having to testify. And he says, yeah, but he thinks this is wrong because they're trying to set up poor President Trump. But he's not singing Trump's praises because he's saying the people from January 6th are insurrectionists and it was wrong. Which says that, like Mitch McConnell said, that President Trump was wrong in doing this, and as Lindsey Graham himself said. But he's doing it really quiet. Now here's my point, and I'm going to end my show while I feel sorry for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a real manipulative guy, and when he was a New York State real estate developer and everything else like that, he had to work with the mob. I don't mean as a mob member, as a racketeer. No, I do not think former President Trump did that. If you listen to shows by mob members like Michael Frances and Semi the Bull Gravano, then they have huge podcasts. Oh no, everybody in New York had to deal with the mob because they controlled all the unions and all the concrete companies and everything else like that. But as a mobster, no, he wasn't a racketeer or a mobster. He had his own dealings that he was doing. But here's the point. Trump is pretty damn smart. He knows how to use his mob, his base. But there's a subtle shift that's happening. There's a subtle shift, and this is my prediction. They are, meaning the Lindsey Grahams, the Susan Collins, the other people, the Ron DeSantis, the other people in that party who are opportunists, who are looking and saying, this Trump is a nutcase. He has a crazy agenda. We're not going to throw him under the bus right now. We want to get through these midterm elections and get back the House of Representatives. We want to get back the United States Senate. We control those two houses. We control everything. Because you do control everything when you do that. You have a president against both houses. Very difficult to do anything. You really got to deal with them. And they're doing a lot of voter suppression, gerrymandering, all these other kind of things, playing shenanigans so they can influence things on every level that they can because they're not really in the majority. And the Democrats keep shooting themselves in the foot all over the place with pushing things too far in certain directions and not being centrist enough, in my opinion, right now. So here's the thing why I feel sorry for Trump. Trump thinks that he's going to come back with Save Your America because he's got the mob. And I'm saying that once these bedbugs, meaning the Collins, the McConnells, the Lindsey Graham, and the other people, once they've secured in 2022 the House of Representatives, and if they get back anything in the Senate, if they take a majority there, they're going to abandon Trump. They don't give a shit one way or the other. Pardon my French. They're not going to care one way or another about the mob. They're going to have control for a good long time. That's why Lindsey Graham is being so reasonable about Russia and the Ukraine. That's why they're being so complimentary towards the black female, a person where they want to make it look like to represent America. They want to allay all these fears, and they're doing it to get all the power and control back for them, the old time, the old guard. Well, Trump is going to think they're doing it for him. So he'll get a round of people coming in for him, that are Trumpians and playing his game. But Trump's an old man. How much longer? So what if he becomes president in 20? How long is he going to live? We think people are going to vote for Don Jr. for crying out loud? They're not going to. That's not going to be these other sharpshooters. They'll find ways to throw him under the bus. So what I'm trying to say, bottom line, is these guys, Trump is a select customer when it comes to the mob, but these guys are also playing three-dimensional chess, and they're a bunch of sharpshooters on both sides of the aisle. On both sides of the aisle. I don't think that politicians, by and large, have the interest of the American citizens truly at heart. I think they're constantly playing the by the rules of politics, which is about keeping power for that political group, and it doesn't always intersect with what's good for America or American citizens. It has nothing to do with patriotism in their minds. It has to do with maintaining and keeping power. But I think that was the feeling I got. I said, man, there's something stinky there. It's kind of like what they're doing is what you would see in The Godfather with Marlon Brando when he talks about being smart by knowing your enemies, but keeping them very, very close. And that's what they're doing to President Trump. They're not cutting him loose. Not now. Not till all the cards are in their favor. Just like Michael Corleone does when he knocks off all the members of the 5 families. That's what I think they're doing. And if you like President Trump, or former President Trump, I should say, and you're a fan or a supporter of his, I don't know, it's something to think about. As you watch these guys, tell me what you think about that. I think it's an interesting political thing. I'm not, people want to vote for former President Trump, go ahead, man, that's your right. You want that kind of nonsense back, or you think that's good stuff and it's not nonsense, I'm calling it nonsense, you want that back, hey, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes, But that's my prediction. They're doing him in, and I don't think he knows it, or maybe he does know it. I mean, it can't just be me seeing that. Somebody's got to see that. But remember, big egos like that, sometimes they're not seeing things from a distance, where you can't see the forest for the trees. And when you have polarized and tribal thinking like we have right now, you can get away with murder if you're manipulated. If you do things by purely business and you don't get involved with the emotional stuff, this makes it all the better. This makes it all the better. So that's my show for today. I wonder what you think. Feeling sorry for former President Trump, because I think they're out to get him, his own people. And boy, God help him if the Republicans really get in and do all that control, because I think it's bad news for him. That's my prediction. This is Just Thinking 2022, and thanks for enduring a political show. I hope it wasn't a negative one. I think it's just like if we were sitting around and we were working for a think tank or something, or we were political consultants. A nice discussion of politics. Just how the game is played. Well, catch you next time. If you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and keep on giving some feedback on the shows. Look at the link. I've got my email there, and that's it. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye now.